It's easy to hate on tech stocks in a bear market. Your favorite tech stocks that were once Wall Street darlings, analysts were pumping them to the moon. Well, now they're in the dumps and they're telling you to sell them. So is it buy high and sell low, or is there more to it? Now, of course, there's no question that technology stocks were ahead of themselves, and it makes sense for people who want to buy dividend and value stocks going into a tough macroeconomic environment and a potential recession. I get that. But let's just pause for a second, pump the brakes, and zoom the lens out a little bit here. Of course, part of the reason why those tech stocks ran so hard in the first place is just because people piled into them, momentum traders, things like that. But with that said, there's also a lot of excitement about the future of technology. And there's no question in my mind that we're in the next step. When you think of technological revolutions, that we're in a new era, and artificial intelligence is driving that, as well as several other key secular growth trends and mega trends that we're experiencing that are going to last for the next 5-10 years and beyond. Now, when you think about the first industrial revolution, that played out starting in the 1760s and it lasted about 100 years. You think like steam engines and things like that. The second revolution began in the late 1800s, introduction of gas, oil, and electricity. And that brought us cars, trains, transportation, telegraphs, and so on. And then Silicon Valley drove that third revolution, started about the 1970s, and that was the rise of electronics. You think of consumer electronics, TVs, things like that, manufacturing automation, space exploration. Now, many people still think we're in that third revolution, but I think that we're in a fourth revolution, and we're in the next step for technology, and the advancements and the speed, it's going to be exponential compared to the past. I've been talking about what I call the new oil for several years, and that's semiconductors. And the reason for it is all the secular growth trends that we talk about, all the things that you get excited about from AI and genomics. I'm going to give you a whole list here in a second. They all need semiconductors. So I want you to think about your favorite secular growth trend within technology. Maybe that's cybersecurity. Maybe it's artificial intelligence, maybe it's genomics, whatever it might be, all those things need semiconductors to power them. And that's why it's the new oil. You know, people say, isn't data the new oil? Well, data needs semiconductors because it needs data centers and cloud computing. You've got cybersecurity, aerospace and defense, space exploration. So when we're going to Mars, we're going to need semiconductors to make that happen. Video gaming, online gambling, augmented reality, VR, MR for mixed reality, autonomous driving, electric vehicles, even non-electric vehicles, more and more semiconductors and chips, LiDAR, all that stuff, genomics, robotic surgery. Think of Intuitive Surgical that just joined Lisa Su last week at CES in Vegas. Esports, 5G, 6G, 7G, 10G, name it with a G behind it, it needs semiconductors. E-commerce, digital twins, cryptocurrency, metaverse, all of these secular growth trends, all this technology, it needs semiconductors.
But one thing is true. The pandemic made it clear that semiconductors are absolutely essential to everything that we do. Virtually every product, every service, every experience in our lives is powered by semiconductors. Whether you're talking about cloud services or how we work, game, and connect, chips have become a critical enabler of everything in our modern life. And with the growth of AI across all of these applications, the technology is becoming even smarter and more sophisticated every single day.
So what I want to do today is focus on AMD. This is one of my favorite semiconductor stocks. This is a fabless semiconductor. There are different segments in the semiconductor industry, from equipment to foundries to fabless. So when you think of fabless, they're creating the most exciting and innovative designs, and they're sending it off to places like Taiwan Semiconductor to get those manufactured. Now, last quarter, we had a little bit of a rough quarter. We had some numbers. We had some commentary from Lisa Su as why. And of course, when you go into a down market, if we go into recession, you think of video gaming, that's still a big part of their business, that's been impacted. There's also a lot of pull through from the pandemic. So let's look at this stock, let's look at some of the numbers and see, is AMD stock a buy now? This is something that fuels all these secular growth trends and part of the new oil. So you think of data center revenue, they're doing very well. AMD acquired a company called Xilinx, which really helps out in that data center segment. And they announced some really exciting new chips last week in Vegas at CES. And I'm going to show you one of those that's mind-boggling, some of the numbers on it. You know, client revenue is down, 40% year over year. Gaming revenue is still up 14%. You can see the numbers on your screen. Gross margin still really strong. Cash from operations, $965 million. It's a profitable company. Free cash flow, $842 million. It's up 29% year over year on the revenue at $5.6 billion. And they're going to be reporting again here soon in early 2023. And the stock could certainly, pop 10%, drop 20%, and so on, depending on those numbers. So let's look at it a little bit closer, see what's coming down the pipeline, some of the exciting new products that they're releasing in 2023. I'm also going to look at a chart and valuation, so stay tuned for this entire video. So if you're not familiar with AMD, this is their CEO, Dr. Lisa Su, a distant relative to Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA. This is a quote here from the last quarter. Third quarter results came in below our expectations due to softening PC market and substantial inventory reduction actions across the PC supply chain. Now, when you think of supply chain disruptions, we had one of the craziest times that I can remember in my 20 plus years of investing with supply chain. You had the pandemic, everything got shut down, then it reopens. The demand is higher than the supply, and you've got lots of disruption in that global supply chain. And different countries were affected differently, China being shut down, all those different things. That's all part of the story here when you think about semiconductors. We are confident that our leadership, product portfolio, strong balance sheet, and ongoing growth opportunities. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of ongoing growth opportunities. And I think this is going to be a winner if you hold it long term. Short term, hard to say. Could the stock go lower? Yes, we'll talk about that more later. They've got growth opportunities in data center, embedded business. You think of AI, all these different things. These guys are a big part of the future of technology, as well as a handful of other vendors. And I certainly own this stock, but let's continue to dig a little bit deeper. So of course, AMD is big into gaming. It's not just AI and data centers. Gaming's still a big part of their business, and it's something that you have to, of course, be aware of, because that is going to be a little bit more cyclical and more impacted from downturn markets. But what are their threats? Intel's got the Raptor Lake, and this is PC CPUs. And so one thing they announced last week in Vegas, Lisa Su announced, there's a new product coming out to compete with this. So beat AMD's Ryzen 7000 chips and gaming workloads at lower prices. So Intel had a product that was really coming after AMD. AMD last week announced 3 new 3D V-Cache chips on Wednesday. 8-core, there's a 12-core, and there's a 16-core. So why is this important? It's important because it allows AMD to stack additional memory on top of the processor, increases speed by placing as much data as possible into the CPU cache. So this results in less time that the CPU spends waiting to access slower system memory. Larger caches increase speed significantly for gaming and other data-heavy applications. So you think of creators, movie content, and things like that. In fact, Avatar, the most recent movie, it was powered by AMD, and they talked about that last week as well. So of course, last week, Lisa's on stage, showing us stats. They're the fastest at everything. They have the best at everything. And that's part of their job as a CEO and showman. But I really do believe that AMD is on the cutting edge. When I think of AMD and NVIDIA, those are the two fabless that I really want to own. And Intel has made some strides. They really have. But I think it's going to be hard for Intel to keep up with that. I hope that all these companies do well, because we want Intel to do well, especially if they start doing more of the foundry side of the business. But this is a big step when you think of this specific market for AMD and the competition against Intel. This is a big step for them. And they'll be releasing these products in 2023, some of them rolling out as early as February. So let's look at a few more announcements from CES 2023. There's some really cool stuff here. I want to show you a few of the highlights. Now, before we go on, guys, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get over 40,000 subscribers. I'm working hard for you guys. Click that bell to get notifications. I appreciate your support. Let's keep moving. So quick recap, and then I'm going to show you a valuation and a chart. So definitely stay tuned. Bottom line, guys, semiconductors are the new oil. Find a basket of semiconductors or go buy a semiconductor ETF. I think it's going to do well over the next 5 and 10 years. It's a secular growth trend. It's not going to go up in a straight line. It's going to go up over time, and there's going to be peaks and valleys. You want to buy opportunity, in my opinion, and hold for the long term. That's just my opinion. You got to do what's best for your money. AI is the defining technology of our time. The next industrial or technological revolution, we're experiencing it right now, and I think it's going to happen over the next 5 and 10 years. AI is where it's at.
This is a big one, guys. I am super proud to show you MI300 for the very, very first time. This is actually the most complex chip we've ever built. It has 9 5-nanometer chiplets that are 3D stacked on top of 4 6-nanometer chiplets with significant HBM surrounding it. And it has more than 146 billion transistors.
Oh my gosh, just look at it.
From a performance standpoint, on AI workloads, MI300 delivers 8 times more performance and 5 times better efficiency than our MI250X, which was already powering the world's fastest supercomputer. And let me tell you what this means. MI300 can train much larger AI models faster, at lower costs, and with less power. And just to put this in perspective, over the holidays, there's been a lot of talk about, ChatGPT and what you can do with these large language models. What you probably didn't know is that it takes months to train on thousands of GPUs that consume millions of dollars of electricity. MI300 can reduce the time to train these models from months to weeks, with dramatically lower energy costs. And more importantly, it can also support much, much larger models that can be used for even more advanced and more powerful AI services in the future.
Microsoft partnership is really big for AMD. You think of Xbox, they also have the PlayStation, but all of Microsoft, Xbox, PCs, Azure, power in the cloud, Windows 11, Windows Studio Effects, it's all powered by AMD. So obviously gaming is huge, data center is huge. Intuitive Surgical is a partner of AMD, so Da Vinci Systems, robotic surgery, they're using AMD chips. And then sustainability, this is huge because they're making chips that are consuming way less power.
Let's turn to how we're bringing sustainable computing to the largest data centers in the world. Every day, billions of people around the world use our EPYC data center CPUs and Instinct accelerators. The leading cloud companies, including Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Oracle, and many more, have all deployed AMD technology in their data centers. And many of the largest enterprises in the world also use AMD technology, including financial services, healthcare, industrial, automotive, and even Formula One.
And that's going to save a lot of money. You think CapEx and OpEx for businesses. You think of these huge data centers. You think of like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, even Oracle, all of them. If they're using AMD chips, they can save a lot of money. And of course, all these guys are going to keep pushing the envelope. So NVIDIA is going to come out with something that's even faster and better, in 6 months or whatever, in a year. This is going to keep pushing the envelope, and it's going to power AI, and it's going to exponentially increase our computing power, and it's going to revolutionize, I think, over the next 5 and 10 years. Everything around us is going to change from this technology when you think of artificial intelligence. I truly believe that, and I truly believe we're in revolution number 4. And I want to hop on board that train, and I want to profit in my stock market portfolio by buying companies that are going to be able to take advantage of those secular growth trends. And semiconductors is a great way, a pick and shovel way to play all of those different sectors, all those different mega trends, all those different exciting technologies that are going to drive us to the next generation. So I'm excited about a company like AMD. I own it, and I think the company is going to do well, but let's look at valuation. Let's look at a chart and see where the stock could go from here. Now, before we go on, guys, I need to announce this video is sponsored by the Motley Fool. And if you'd like to see the 10 best stocks to buy now, visit fool.com/firedupwealth. We also have a private community, and you can join our Discord. Check out patreon.com/firedupwealth. Welcome to the struggles of being a YouTuber. So I planned to do this video over the weekend, not knowing it was going to pop 7.3% here on Monday. And it was a lot better deal on Friday, of course, than it is now. So, the title of the video is AMD stock to buy now. I don't know if I want to chase it, but I am going to look at a chart next and show you where it could go and kind of the ranges. The PE ratio was close to 35. Now it's 41. Market cap's $110 billion. You can see the 52-week low is $54.57. That was a great opportunity. It was something that we called in Discord. A lot of us were buying that $60 and under price. And maybe you see it again later. It's hard to know. I will show you a chart here in a second. This 52-week high was $141.25. And you got to remember too, guys, if you zoom the lens out, this thing is still up 471% over the last 5 years. So a lot of people own this stock for lower than you probably do. And there could be pressure later if earnings miss, if the market starts to go the other direction. Say we have, we start having earnings, CPI comes out this week, all this stuff starts turning the other direction. You could see a retest in those $50 ranges, but at this point, you have to look at it and say, do I want to buy here or wait for a chance for it to go lower when it may or may not happen? So for me personally, I've always said that I like AMD $75 and less dollar cost average. And of course, anything close to 50 was a pound the table type of a buy for me. Now it's at 68. This one day chart here is $66 at open. And if you look at last week, the thing closed on Friday, actually, it was at $60.42. So this thing is up over $8 a share, basically since January 6th. So you have to be a little bit careful chasing. With that said, right now the momentum is bullish until it's not. So if all of a sudden CPI data comes in, higher than expected this week, you could see the market sell off. You could see this come back the other direction. Or CPI could be lighter and the pivot bros will keep saying, hey, we're going to pivot in 2023. And you can see this thing go a lot higher too. Let me look at a chart here and show you where it could go. Okay, so before I go on and show this, we do chart day every single Wednesday in Patreon Discord, and you can join that by going to patreon.com/firedupwealth. Anytime you see orange, that's a previous chart day. Yellow means it's this chart day. Now it's going to be yellow because we just talked about this last Wednesday on chart day, and I'm going to show you what I told the gang on chart day. So if I look at this, guys, you know, we were calling the $56, $55 range in here. We said, you know, buy under 60, closer to 50, even better. And I thought at one point the pressure was so hard that it might break 50, but it didn't. It got down to basically $54.57. So I told the gang that the golden opportunity had kind of already passed. We were saying 52 to 55 was a good range to buy. And maybe you see it later, maybe, but it's doubtful. Market seems to really have priced semis in, at least for now, but we don't know because earnings and macro are going to matter. And so it's really hard as an investor. You have to really just buy individual stocks at individual levels or specific levels and try to dollar cost average in this type of a market. That's really the best way, in my opinion. The market seems to kind of price it now. Remember that semiconductors often lead the market both directions, so they might start running before rest of growth stocks or, you know, growth oriented type stocks. And they usually start to fall before the general market too. Not always, but generally they're cyclical and they really kind of lead the market both directions. So I said on Wednesday that it was holding $63 range for now. That was last week, Wednesday. And it kind of held that range, and now it's popped up to $69 and it's back to this P. So if the market continues to go higher, you'll probably see this thing closer to 75. You're probably going to get some strong resistance around $75. You know, if you're trading it, you have to be really careful and watch. For me, I'm only buying stuff for 5-year holds. I personally still think that this is a buy under $75, but if you have a 5-year time horizon and you know the stock could go lower, and you would add more later if it went back down in the $55 range or maybe even less depending on what happens. So it's an expensive stock, but when you look at, say, an NVIDIA, it's still relatively inexpensive. It's got a strong balance sheet. There's lots of growth possibilities over the next 5 and 10 years. So this is the type of stock that I want to own in my long-term investing growth portfolio. You got to do what's best for you though in your money. Hopefully this video is helpful, guys. And if it was, drop me a like, drop me a comment. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that bell to get notifications. Appreciate your time and attention. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.